are we ready for Knicks Pistons game 5?
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's bring up Andrew. Our guy is coming onto the stream. Straight-faced, sad, disappointed, frustrated. Just an icon of our business, GMAC. Andrew Claudio, how are you doing, buddy?
Been better. Say that much. I would like to let people know, because we said this off the air in our conversation after game 4. Well, you guys called this, that the Pistons winning in the Garden is the most likely scenario and potentially leading to them losing in 6. But
I think Bryce called it on the show as well. I think he said that they play better on the road than at home, and they will win game 5.
I've consistently said this. What I've said behind the scenes, because I didn't want Pistons fans to get pissed at me, was Detroit would win game 5 and then break people's hearts in game 6 and continue the playoff home losing streak. And now I'm like terrified that I actually spoke it into existence.
Oh no, Bryce. Well, don't you worry, Bryce, because there's a cure for that, and it's the New York Knicks and their tendency for unserious performances, which, look, we'll break it down as much as you guys want to, but it felt like they got a gift. No, it didn't feel like they got a gift in game 4, and we're giving control back of the series. They could have put this team in its place as the less talented team, and maybe, I don't know, pretend like you are the team that was supposed to come into this season with championship aspirations after you traded everything from Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. And my goodness, you guys just had a Giannis conversation, and you know who you didn't mention once? The team that spent years and years not trading for Donovan Mitchell, not going after this star, not going after that star, and decided to go all in on Jalen Brunson's other roommate that we probably didn't like, and Karl Anthony Towns, who has been just fine, except tonight he wasn't. Like, I've been fine with the Karl Anthony Towns experience this season. Tonight I was not fine with the Karl Anthony Towns experience. We got a cat game in the worst way tonight. And now, like, the pivot is basically, do you think the coach is optimizing the roster? If not, or like just run it back and maybe you get lucky with an MLE. I know I'm talking about it like the season's over, and it's not. The Knicks are actually winning this series. Bryce had the audacity minutes ago to be like, well, in this world, this theoretical world where the Pistons force a game 7, Bryce, the theoretical world where the Pistons force a game 7 is also the same world where they win game 7, which is the world we're living in, Bryce. It's all on the table. This Knicks team does not have the same arrogance, the same chutzpah, the same like bleep you that I thought this team had last year, where I was ready for war against Philly. Now I'm just hoping they survive against the Pistons team whose second best player rotates. So yeah, I'm good. I'm great, Sam. That's the answer to your question. The Mets won tonight. That's my saving grace. I'm gonna have a fun summer watching baseball.
So a couple of things here. Ausar Thompson was fantastic tonight. 22 points. 7 rebounds. It just was so critical. Played really good defense on Jalen Brunson. Was really active. I thought that he was the key more than anything else. And we talked about that on the last episode, that he needs to be really, really excellent in this game. And he was really, really critical.
I want to point out one thing real quick, Sam. I thought JB positioned Ausar's minutes perfectly in this game, because Ausar Thompson is not going to play 40 minutes a night. I'll look it up while we're talking here. He played 30 plus minutes a handful of times the entire regular season. So what JB did was he matched Ausar's minutes to start halves and to finish halves. And I thought he played it perfectly in regards to that.
Yeah. The second guy here, Cade, obviously goes for 24, 8 and 8. I thought it was fine. Cade Knight. Like I thought that he was, as good as he typically is. Right.
Really good in the fourth quarter. Really good in the fourth
excellent
quarter.
In the fourth quarter. Yeah. Like it wasn't like a blown out of the water performance. Honestly, the guy that I thought, showed up tonight was Jalen Duren as much as anything. Jalen Duren has 9 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. The Knicks continued to blitz Cade Cunningham as a ball screen creator, oftentimes because the Pistons brought up guard-to-guard screening actions a decent amount of the time, particularly involving Jalen Brunson, and they've been trapping the whole series when that happens. And I thought Duren particularly did an amazing job hitting Ausar Thompson in those moments, being able to create shots for him as a short roll passer. I did think, the Knicks didn't really show up in a big way in this game. Jalen Brunson, 16 points on 4 of 16 from the field and has 4 turnovers, right? Ausar did a great job, but Jalen just did not play well in any way, shape, or form in this game. Hit like an insane, ridiculous, spinning 3 that I thought was going to be like a backbreaker for the Pistons.
Yeah.
And the Pistons kind of overcame that and got their shit back together, which was really, really critical. I thought the 2 guys, Cat, we're going to save for his own conversation tonight, but the 2 guys that kept them in this game to me were OG and Mitchell Robinson. I thought they were the 2 that played obscenely well tonight. OG defensively did a really good job on Cade, making his life really, really hard. Obviously made some critical shots, made some really big contested shots, both from the mid-range and from 3. And then Mitchell Robinson's energy and effort and ability to create second chances was maybe the whole reason that the Knicks were in this game. They are not in this game without Mitchell Robinson. I feel comfortable saying that for sure.
Are you aware of the OG Anunoby Anne Hathaway connection? Either of you?
No, I know the Suni Lee
both
thing,
of them,
but not the Anne Hathaway one.
In the 4 games that Anne Hathaway and Suni Lee sat courtside at Madison Square Garden, it's rumored or theorized, I should say, that it's just the thing that gets OG Anunoby activated. That he just likes to impress the very famous, potentially very attractive women sitting courtside. And it's why a lot of us were prepared for an OG Anunoby game when Anne Hathaway tweeted out a picture of her on her way to MSG. And when he hit 3 blocks in the first quarter, it was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. We're going to get an OG Anunoby game. So yeah, it was good to see OG have a game like that, wherever his motivations came from. And yeah, we got an old school Mitch game. We really haven't seen that this season.
Yeah.
He's been limited to an extent. I thought he played his best minutes for sure. Even when, respect to Bickerstaff, went to the hack of Mitch at one point, and in back-to-back stints, Mitch went 1 of 2 from the line. I cannot get upset anytime he goes 1 for 2 from the free throw line. And he matched the possession battle that the Knicks were losing when he was out of the game. They were able to win it. And this is what I said to you guys in the group chat, I'll save the Cat conversation for later, but the issue they've been running into at the beginning of the third quarter is that, and it's been an issue all season, when you have Cat and Jalen on the court, there are multiple places to attack, and one of them happens to be the rim, which is really tough to put a competent defense out there. And when you put Jalen Brunson plus 4+ defenders, including one of the best rim protectors in the league in Mitchell Robinson, you can turn things around. That 3 he hit, that circus 3 to make it, to cut a 10-point lead down to 7. Yeah, I yelled when we were watching it live, please make this matter. And the reason it was able to matter is because Mitchell Robinson was now in the game, and they were able to actually get stops on that end of the floor. And suddenly it's a 1-point game. And look, this game was 95 all with 4 minutes left. I thought they pushed enough right buttons to win, and then obviously what happened at the end of the game we'll talk about. But yeah, Mitch, it's a welcome thing that we haven't really seen all playoffs and since he's returned, and it brings up some interesting questions going into game 6 and 7. So
the thing I want to talk about from the Knicks perspective is I did see a lot of Knicks fans upset with Tibbs in this game. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I didn't think Tibbs was anywhere near at fault here tonight.
For the loss,
for
the game
loss
stuff with the timeout?
No, for the loss in general. The reason they lost tonight is because Karl Towns was not an engaged defender and was super late on his rotations or like in the case of the crazy like spinning pass at the rim that Cade made to Ausar in order to, if I remember correctly, that might end up have been the winning basket, right? Like Cat was supposed to be guarding like 1-on-2 sort of in that circumstance at the rim. And he was just standing upright and like didn't have his arms out, didn't have anything
that actually
wasn't engaged in what was happening.
Yeah, that extended the lead to 6, and then we had the Bridges and Anunoby threes after. So Detroit had gone on a little mini run, but what's crazy about that play, Sam? The Pistons spacing was disgusting. No, but the Pistons spacing was disgusting. Like what was playing out was what we always talk about with Ausar and Duren. They were occupying the same space, and Tobias Harris had cut in from the corner, and Cat still didn't guard everybody. Like he literally could have put his arms straight out and deflected a pass, and
all he had to do.
And he didn't. And yes, Cade with great vision, Ausar with a great cut, finding the open space. There should not have been open space based on the Pistons' offensive spacing in that scenario.
Yeah,
I rewound it and was like, "How does this happen?" And like,
no, like unacceptable for it to happen. But like, I think Cade like noticed it and like saw like, oh, his arms are down. I'm just going to zip this ball right into this tight window and drill it. Like, yeah. I mean. Completely crazy. And then the timeouts thing at the end, like, and not having Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart off the court or on the court while they're standing at the scorer's table. The Knicks only had one timeout. I mean, GMAC, you might be able to speak to this better. I don't remember exactly how the Knicks used their timeouts in this game necessarily. And if they were like, wildly intelligently used, but when you have one timeout left in a super tight game and you get to advance the ball with one timeout, I think you kind of have to save the timeout. In all honesty, like I think you have to trust that, okay, like Mikal and OG are out there and Towns is out there. Like I think that these guys can go get us shots and hopefully there's a stoppage and we'll get these guys on. Like I didn't have a problem with this one, in all honesty.
So I have no issue with the timeout thing either. I think so. Just for those who didn't get to watch the game, we'll break it down as best as possible. So the Knicks actually had 4 timeouts remaining with about 5 minutes left, and they looked gassed. I don't know if that's what you guys both caught, that like OG Anunoby is walking up the court, and there was no way they were subbing him out, and so Tibbs calls a timeout with around 5 minutes left. Cade's at the line for 2 free throws, and he calls it in between the free throws to ice him, but also to give the guys a break. 2 possessions go by. I think Cade actually hits a 3 to make it 95-90. He calls another timeout, and it's like, all right, let's get another breather. Let's come back. They tie the game at 95 on that trailing Cat 3 from the logo. Then they come back down, and Jalen Brunson steps wrong. He's limping. Josh Hart and Cat go to contest. I believe it was a Cade runner or a floater. Josh Hart lands wrong. Like it runs into one. Somebody hits Josh Hart. He lands wrong on his wrist, like from the air, full contact on his wrist. He's now injured and not getting up. And on the floater, it was missed, and Duren slams it home 97-95. And now like Jalen Brunson's limping and Josh Hart's not getting up. Tibbs now has to use another timeout, and Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson are out of the game all of a sudden. Like Campaign and Deuce McBride come in. You don't know how long you're going to be without them. And then suddenly you see both of them limp to the scorer's table and you're waiting for a stoppage. In that situation, it's so unique that I can't really blame Tibbs for like, okay, these guys are they can't foul to get them back in the game. If I call a timeout, I'm without a timeout in a possession. In a game, I'm now down by 2 possessions because the Knicks didn't get a shot. The Pistons did. The hope was these guys going to have to score and we're going to have to get a stop, and then I'll call a timeout and then get these guys back in. And it just never happened. The lead extended to 6 all of a sudden, and he finally called a timeout, but now the damage was done. That's that side of things. If I could speak to why the outcry from Knicks fans may be about Tibbs, I don't know if it's...
To be clear, go ahead. Just real quick, like I'm not saying he shouldn't be fired at the end of the year, even. I'm particularly talking about this game specifically. Right. I have my issues with how Tibbs is like utilizing their offensive players and their pieces and everything. Like I won't have a problem if he gets fired.
That's the issue then. That's the issue that you're speaking to.
Yeah. This game particularly though, like I don't look at this game going, this was Tibbs's, the reason they lost is Tibbs. You know what I mean?
We have a phrase. I think DJ, you heard this when you were with us at Knicks Film School. The players have agency. And when you're in the individual game going, like your first thought after the game being like, I need to speak to the manager, is just not the way we like to do things. However, to your point about the offensive optimization, that this team has so much talent and there's so little player and ball movement in this offense that the Pistons, like respect to the Pistons, I thought this is how competitive both of us thought they would be going into the series. When we did that preview, Bryce, Sam, you picked them to win the series. So obviously you thought this would be a competitive series, but like them, I
still think they would have won if they had Isaiah.
Oh yeah, they'd be over by now. Like I get it. I completely get it. Like, so like the Pistons defense figuring out the league's 5th best offense with all of this offensive firepower in 5 games and maybe even in 4. It's why the Tibbs frustration is what it is. So speaking to maybe this game isn't on him. And I would agree with you, especially with how Cat played and how Brunson played. And like they missed 11 free throws. Cat like Tibbs isn't at the line. The overall frustration with him is that we thought this was supposed to be a juggernaut of an offense, and like just going around the rest of. Go ahead.
It should be a juggernaut of an offense. Like forget like you guys thought it. It should be a juggernaut of an offense.
So that's the thing that people are running into. His offenses that have been top 5, top 10 in the past are based on the possession battle. They're low turnover. They're heavy isolation, a ton of drives, and they don't have that personnel anymore. And he's tried to fit the personnel into his style and not vice versa, where he adjusts to what the personnel dictates. Now, the funny thing is, I don't know what the adjustment is for the rest of this series. That we were saying it on playback tonight. I don't like the Pistons seem to have figured out the Knicks, like they figured out their offense. And the way the Knicks scored points tonight was Mitchell Robinson had 8 offensive rebounds, and they outscored the Pistons 19-12 in or off of turnovers, but they had like a bunch of, I think 14 second chance points as well. But like they forced turnovers and they got out in transition and they got offensive rebounds. Their half-court offense is awful at the moment. And if it's just based on incredible shot making and incredible tough shot making, like they have entirely too much offensive firepower for me to then go into next season thinking this is like status quo and the roster is being optimized. I am with you though. Like this loss isn't on Tibbs, and it's why the balancing act you try to do with the big picture versus the micro of the game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, look, like big picture, since the All-Star break, I mean, you know this, like they were 18th in offensive rating and they dealt with injuries. Like Jalen Brunson went out.
The Brunson injury, like, yeah.
Let's not sit here and act like there's not a reason for why they dropped. But like, even in the games where Brunson was there, it didn't feel all that sweet. You know what I mean? It felt like they were kind of slowly but surely, like methodically leaning back into Tibbsy ball.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, early in the season, it was a more free-flowing offense that looked a little bit cleaner to me.
Do you guys remember? It was a while ago, but around Christmas, it was just Mikal Bridges had 41 points against Wemby, and I was celebrating, and you guys were teasing, like, look at their schedule, Andrew. Come on. I was like, yeah, but they've won 8 straight. Like, get off me. And I was doing the thing, and then they entered a stretch from January 2nd on that they had the toughest schedule in the NBA remaining. From January 2nd to the end of the year, they had, I believe, the 11th best offense with this offensive firepower, the 11th best offense. And if you want to take out the Brunson sample, when Brunson was out and they had a bottom 11 offense. So from January 2nd to April 6th, I think it goes up to 10th. Like you barely crack a top 10 offense over that stretch. Yeah. And it's like the defense got significantly worse over that stretch too, which makes it even more of an issue. And then you add in that the like the way that they end up finishing 13th in defense this season is because of that Tibbsy ball stretch without Brunson, where they were a top 5 defense. Like, he has a way he likes to do things, which I've grown to love. Last year, that was a Tibbs team. This is not it. And it's why them struggling to get out of the first round with the Pistons, who, like, I joked around, they deserve so much credit for what this series has become. A very fun, objectively, like, hits my heartstrings of how I grew to watch basketball in the 90s. Like, I love the throwback. I also see that this team and believe that this team should be getting more offensively than struggling to get to 100 points against the Detroit Pistons. Personally, Bryce, I mean, as someone who watches the Pistons, am I not giving them enough credit?
I mean, no, what I was going to say was the Knicks are 11th in the playoffs in offensive rating right now. You're the 11th team in offensive rating, barely above the Detroit Pistons, who have a rotating second option, to your point. Like, I think it may have rotated every game this series, and it was Ausar Thompson tonight. And so and I guess my thing is, it's a Pistons team whose second best defender hasn't played other than game 1, and whose best defender, the fan base, if they've been pissed about one thing, hasn't played enough minutes. Like, Ausar's only played 20 minutes a night up until game 5 tonight. And then it's a bunch of defenders of like Malik Beasley's doing this to you, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jalen Duren, who me and Sam have critiqued all year long on the defensive end. Now, overall, it is a top 10 defense. So in respect to the Pistons, it's not like it's a bad defense. It's just like, to your point, this was supposed to be an elite offense that would be elite still against a number 10 defense. Maybe if they're playing the Thunder, you're like, okay, well, I understand why they're not just like putting up crazy numbers. And I'm not trying to take credit away from the Pistons at all right now here. Like, I give them tons of love, but just to hammer your point home, I understand Knicks fans' frustrations that the offense isn't better in this series. So
one quick clarification before I go back to you, Sam. So I went and actually refound the numbers that we've been quoting a lot over the second half of the season. Since January 2nd, the Knicks have the 16th best offense in the NBA since January 2nd. If you take out to that Brunson sample, that night of the Laker game where he sprained his ankle and then was out for a month. So discount that stretch where they had a bottom 12 offense, 12th. So they were just barely above league average. That's what they were when they weren't having the easiest schedule in the NBA for the first 2.5 months, and actually have to play teams that are in the playoffs right now. You've quoted all year what they are against top 10 teams, both wins and losses, both net rating, and obviously what their offense is. It's why the questions around Tibbs exist. As far as this game is concerned, your captain went 4-16. Your second best player was largely awful. And if you want to make this the transition to the cat conversation, we can. And like a small sliver of the blame pie going to Deuce McBride, who's just on offense. This is a guy that a lot of people were saying will be a starter by game 5 because the spacing issues are going to be a problem. And this guy is shooting 25% from the field, 27%, 25% from 3, 26% from the field in this series. Like, he's just disappeared on offense.
So like, I've kind of said like what I need to say about Cat. Like he was just really bad on defense tonight, more than anything to me. But like, to your point on the structure of the offense, like there's no way that Tobias Harris should be able to effectively guard Karl Anthony Towns. Like, you should be running him off of screens. You should be posting him consistently. You should be making life harder. And Tobias Harris is like, I think long been like an underrated one-on-one defender. Like this isn't shots at Tobias Harris. Like, he's dealt with Siakam in the playoffs before. Like, he's dealt with Giannis in the playoffs before. I'm not saying he's done these things like wildly successfully, but like he has a lot of experience dealing with these tough matchups and having to like body up on dudes, right? He should not be able to have 17 points and 8 rebounds and 4 blocks while also affecting Karl Towns defensively. Like, he should run out of steam if you're playing offense the right way at the end of the day. He should not be able to be like consistently, like I would argue, all due respect to Ausar, like I would say Tobias was their second option tonight, more so than Ausar, even though Ausar had all the points, because so much of Ausar was just like cutting baseline and finding
play finishing,
opportunistic. Yeah.
Totally. And he was amazing at it. And I'm not taking shots at Ausar in any way, but like Tobias was the number 2 guy tonight. Like he shouldn't be able to be the number 2 option and also effectively take Karl Anthony Towns. Like, I don't want to say he was like out of the game offensively because he still had 17 points, but like Cat didn't make life all that hard on the other end either. And like part of that, like Cat's help defense was the problem tonight more than anything. But yeah, it's something right now, guys.
Tobias played 43 minutes, had 17, 8, 2, 2, and 4 on 13 field goal attempts. And Cat went 17 and 11 on 14 attempts. Like if Tobias Harris is playing, like, let's just say that's equal. I mean, box score wise, I would say Tobias won the matchup tonight, and it kind of is a direct matchup, at least on one end of the floor. If Tobias is neutralizing that matchup, like, what's the biggest advantage we've talked about all series from the preview? GMAC, and it not even specific. It's the Knicks have a second option and the Pistons don't. The Pistons' second best player could literally be one of 7 players on any given night.
No. So I disagree with this for what it's worth.
Ooh,
I think it is specifically if Isaiah Stewart is not playing, Cat is the specific matchup. It's not the fact that they have like a second guy every single night that could be the number 2 option, right? Like some nights it'll be OG, some nights it'll be McKinnon.
No. I'm saying Detroit has that. I'm saying Detroit. I think you misunderstood what I said.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm saying the fact that New York has Cat as a second option is the biggest advantage because Detroit doesn't, because Detroit's second option could rotate from one night to the next.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. I thought you were saying that New York's option could rotate.
I'm not. No. Yeah, sorry. Maybe I'm said it backwards. But anyway, we've said that from the start that was the biggest advantage New York had was, okay, number 1 options. Okay. Number 2 options, big advantage, New York.
I thought Tobias had the most important stretch of maybe not the most important stretch of the game, but an important stretch. I saw you noted it in your notes, Bryce. Like he got smacked in the face in the second quarter.
Yes. Yep.
Knicks had just gone up 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
he drove offense there in the second.
He went on a 7-0 run by himself to erase that lead. And this was like in the second unit. Ausar was off the floor. Cade already had 3 fouls, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And I was like, could they stretch this out to 10 and then they're in the Garden and do the lights get bright? And no, he had the stretch that made this back into a game before we knew it. The Pistons were winning again. I didn't really get to say anything about Cade. The first half, I mean, I don't know how you guys felt, but
real quick, I just want to shout out Tobias.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Cade.
Go right ahead.
So like Tobias, like coming off of the season he had in Philly last year, like was very bad in the playoffs. Like we can just say that was very actively bad. Coming into tonight, Tobias Harris was averaging 15.8 points, 8 rebounds, shooting 46, 40, 100 in this playoff series while taking the Cat assignment. Like Tobias Harris has been awesome throughout the course of this series. He has been genuinely great to the point where I just like really respect what he's done. Like that's like truly, I just think that we are probably not giving him enough flowers at this point. And sorry, Andrew, you can talk about Cade. Like Cade again was awesome tonight.
Well, so he got off to that slow start. No, 4 points at halftime, and it was half that he was in foul trouble, and I just thought he'd never found a rhythm. Second half, I mean, the way these third quarters have been going, the Knicks have lost every third quarter. The first 6-7 minutes, we call it the third quarter of doom in New York. That we know that no matter how big the lead is in the first or second quarter, there will be a stretch in the third where they make us sweat, and it's kind of been that way for years. But especially in the fourth quarter, where they were attacking Cat, they were attacking Brunson. We disagreed about Mikal Bridges' defense in the last game. I think this is now a third straight game Mikal Bridges has either been good to serviceable against Cade, and I thought Cade, even when he was having good defense played against him, was really good. So, I left last year's playoff series being really excited from an objective basketball fan standpoint about like Tyrese Maxey and when he could be, and now I'm going to leave this year's series whenever it ends like, oh, they Pistons have a dude, in Cade. Not that we didn't already know it, where he's going to land in All NBA and where he's going to land in the MVP voting, but like, now this is a thing, and he's really shown it this series.
I wanted to see it in the playoffs, like straight up. I mean, you won't find a bigger Cade fan and supporter than me, but I mean, people would ask me, and I'm like, I'm not putting Cade over certain names until I see Cade actually perform in a playoff series. And now we are. Now we've seen a couple of the flaws. He's shooting awful from three, even throughout the series. And the turnovers have been an issue literally every game of the series. He's averaging almost 6 turnovers per game in the series and shooting 25% from three. But to me, that makes me more excited for what he could be, because it's like he's putting up 25, 8, and 8 while not making threes and turning the ball over at double what he should be. Those are things he could get better at. I'm not saying he will, but those are things he could get better at.
Well, it's even more why I think tonight was so impressive, that like the best player in the series. I knew I would sound like a homer when Sam said it was Cade after game 4. And I was like, actually, I think it's Jalen Brunson, but like it's because crunch time mattered to me, and Brunson coming off a game where he had 15 fourth quarter points and Cade having a bunch of turnovers. It's like, well, when the game matters, this is what these two players have looked like. And for Brunson to have the game he had tonight, for Cade, like facing elimination, 13 fourth quarter points, 1 turnover down, and largely put the game away too down the stretch. Yeah. I thought that was it. Bryce, your term, data collection. We've now seen him learn from failure, which I think is the best way guys learn in anything, let alone in basketball. So yeah, he was outstanding tonight. I give him his props.
I was more excited for this game than any, because my first thought whenever the no call happened in game 4 was, we're going to find out if this team really responds. I've probably written the word respond 300 times on my Substack this year. And they've done it every time. They really had their backs against the wall. And as soon as that no call happened in game 4, my first thought was, they're down 3-1, going to feel like they just got screwed by the refs, and they're going back to Madison Square Garden. There is no bigger test for this team to respond to than this right now. And I mean, they showed up tonight. And here's the thing. Their 2 veteran floor spacers still ain't hitting shots.
Nope.
Both of those guys are down at 30%. Malik Beasley was like bad today. He had an awful turnover. He had a 0% shot in transition, like what I call a 0% chance shot. Like if there's no chance it was going in. And it's like they're still finding ways. Like there's, for all of the JB challenge. And so like, I got to give JB a little bit of credit that with this roster and no Isaiah Stewart, no Jaden Ivey, he's taken the Knicks to at least 6. Like he's doing something right, even if it's just culturally and getting these guys to play hard and buy in. All right.
Closing thoughts here on this series. We'll go Bryce first.
Yeah, Bryce first. Yeah.
Okay. I have to, I know I put the thing into the world of like going back to LCA and all that, but Detroit fans don't deserve that. So I'm going to stick to my prediction. When the series started, Detroit figures out a way to win at LCA, and they go back to New York and they lose in game 7 with a 40-point performance from Cade Cunningham. So we're going to 7 on Saturday.
So I almost want to take that to the bank, Bryce. That this is going 7. This is absolutely going 7.
And Knicks win. That's what I said before. I guess I didn't reiterate that.
So I had Knicks in 7. You had Knicks in 7. Sam had Pistons in 7. So one of us will end up being right. The status of Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, I think, matters, because I know Brunson came back, and we all think he's Superman here in New York, but there may be like that he wasn't 100%.
I mean, it's like the second straight game.
I say it's like gone down. It's like reoccurring, right? Like this, the chance of it reoccurring again, even if he does start the game, has to be up a little bit.
Yeah. So him coming back from the ankle injury from the regular season to now in his like 5th playoff game where he's had an injury scare, it's like, okay, so we don't know what we're getting in game 6. He'll play. He'll probably be awesome, because he's just, anytime I think, oh, this is the game that Jalen Brunson looks bad. And Josh Hart, we have a running joke that if like you shot him, he'd probably still be questionable. So I still think like Josh Hart will play in game 6, but his status is interesting. My only thing, I know I wrapped up with a story last time. I have another story. It's a very quick one, I promise. It's related to a Detroit Pistons. So when I was 16, no, when I was, what was 2008? I was 20 years old. And my little brother, who's 12 years younger than me, no siblings in between us. I was at like a church event on a Saturday. It was at a basketball gym. At least the church has a basketball gym, and all the kids that are his age are coming in, and they're having fun, and they're playing basketball. And because I'm the older one, I'm dominating the court, fellas. Like I'm just like I'm Shaq out there, and this is all the New Jersey Nets just not able to guard me. And someone says, "Hey, I brought someone from my school basketball team, so we have a chance, and I think you'll like playing with them." And it's like, "Oh, sure, bring them on, right?" And in walks 16-year-old Tobias Harris at 6'7". He's the only pro basketball player I've ever shared a court with, and it was very clear why at the end of the scrimmage that we all played. Why Tobias? Every time I see him, it's like, "Oh yeah, that I remember what that dunk looked like back then. I remember what having that shot swat back then looked like." So he said like, "Yeah, I'm considering offers, thinking about going to Tennessee. Like they're coming to all my games out Long Island." So Nassau County zone, Tobias Harris. I'm sure this means a lot to him after last year having his season end at the hands of his hometown team to now have a bit of redemption in New York. So kudos to you, Tobias. Rosalind says hi. Rosalind is a city in New York, by the way. It's a town in New York. I believe that's where he's from. Rosalind zone.
So the thing that worries me if I'm a Pistons fan going into game 6 is that Towns really responded after game 2.
Yeah.
And like really came back and like was pretty aggressive. I would guess that Tibbs is going to get into his ass like tonight and tomorrow after the defensive performance that we saw. And I think we're going to see a much better Cat in game 6. I don't know if it'll be enough to win. Look, like I said, Pistons in 7. I'll stick to 7. I think the Knicks very clearly have the advantage here, just being up one game already. But look, like I do think that we see a much better, more engaged Cat, I think is my only prediction for game 6. Like I think Cat will be drastically better.
I hope you're right, Sam. Very much hope you're right.